Hello and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Swapnil Joglekar. It's the 21st of July 2023 and here are the top stories for the day. Is the era of political alliances back? Is there an end in sight for tech layoffs? Why are healthcare stocks gaining muscle? And who was J Robert Oppenheimer? Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second term will come to an end in a few months from now. His rise and that of the BJP's made us believe that the era of multi-party coalitions was over. But last week, Congress and 25 other political parties announced a new coalition to take on BJP in the 2024 general elections. BJP went a step ahead and gathered over 35 political parties to consolidate an anti-Congress bloc. So is the era of political alliances back? Ayush Mishra finds out.
Just a few months from now, millions will be lining up before polling booths to elect new governments, both at the centre and in 5 states. Before the crucial 2024 general election in the mid of next year, at least 5 states will also go to polls. And they are Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Telangana and Mizoram. Election results of these states are likely to set the tone for the bigger battle, that is 2024 general elections. And the poll bugle for that has been sounded.
Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance मतलब इंडिया। लड़ाई NDA और इंडिया के बीच में है, नरेंद्र मोदी जी और इंडिया के बीच में है।
देखिए, ऐसे लोगों पर गुस्सा मत कीजिए, दया कीजिए उन लोगों पर। 2024 में फिर एक बार भाजपा की प्रचंड विजय तय है।
These leaders are just clearing their throats. The dust will not settle on campaign trails anytime soon. And the start was made on July 18, which saw 2 crucial events. As many as 26 opposition parties announced the name of their alliance in their second meeting held in Bengaluru. It will be called INDIA, standing for Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance. And it draws the curtains on the UPA, a Congress-led alliance which was in power for about 10 years. And on the same day, on 18th of July, BJP too called a meeting of its alliance partners. The ruling party said that leaders of 38 parties were present in the get-together in Delhi. In the current parliament, National Democratic Alliance or NDA has 329 Lok Sabha MPs, while BJP has 301. The allies have 28 members, and India has 143 MPs. While the opposition alliance framed the 2024 contest as a battle between the BJP and the rest of the country, Prime Minister Modi contrasted India with Bharat, a rhetoric that may strike a chord with people in North India. So it's India versus Bharat now. But political experts question whether alliances on both the sides of spectrum are natural and if there will be harmony between them in the days to come. Perhaps a brief look at the history will do. In the 1977 elections, the opposition, which was led by the Janata Party, organized rallies against corruption, poverty, and other issues affecting people. It gave India its first ever coalition government formed by non-Congress parties. Morarji Desai was the first non-Congress Prime Minister. He stayed in power from March 1977 to June 1979. From 1977 to 2023, several parties have formed coalition governments. But the first coalition government, which lasted its full term, was BJP-led NDA with Atal Bihari Vajpayee as Prime Minister from 1999 to 2004. Then came the era of UPA, which completed 2 terms before the juggernaut of Narendra Modi swept the elections. And now with India and NDA all set to lock horns, is the era of political alliances back? And why BJP, which had emerged strong in the last general election, is looking for allies.
Alliances have been part of the Indian politics since the first Lok Sabha elections in 1952. What has happened more recently is that the BJP forgetting its allies after it achieved a majority of its own in 2014. All of us noticed how the BJP marked 9 years of Narendra Modi government with much fanfare in the month of May. But it forgot the 25th anniversary of the founding of the National Democratic Alliance, which was on 15th May. So something has happened from then to now for the BJP to become nervous about the 2024 Lok Sabha polls and reach out to its estranged and potential allies.
BJP has figured out that it has reached a saturation point in its core areas in the north and the west. It is pretty strong in the northeast, especially Assam, but otherwise in the east it hasn't really made a substantial breakthrough. Bengal, yes, it got 18 seats in the last elections, but that may well be a flash in the pan. It may not be able to repeat that performance. And in Odisha, it hasn't really had a breakthrough. Now the South. The South is also very weak for the BJP. I mean, we saw they lost the assembly elections in Karnataka. Of course, they might even do very well in the Lok Sabha elections on the back of Mr. Modi's personality. But in the other states, the BJP is really quite weak. It hasn't been able to gain roots. So therefore, it needs allies both in the east and in the south.
And why is that Congress is aligning with its rivals like AAP? What is the compulsion?
Congress, it's a do or die situation. If the Congress does not keep its head above water in 2024, the party is definitely going to disintegrate. It is the tipping moment for the Congress. It has finally figured out that it cannot fight the elections on its own. And more importantly, it cannot be a leader. It will have to yield space to the regional forces, however big or small they are. And evidence of it is the way they agreed to endorse the AAP's opposition to the Delhi Ordinance after dithering. And if you read the resolution that was passed in the Bangalore meeting yesterday called the Bangalore Declaration, it has an element to please almost every constituent in the India coalition.
So experts agree on a revival of political alliances in Indian politics. BJP needs it as the Modi wave may not be as strong as it was earlier. It has just lost the Karnataka election, the only southern state it had. Congress, on the other hand, cannot go alone and needs allies. But seat sharing in states will be tricky.
Navigating the political corridors will indeed be tough for parties as polls draw close. Meanwhile, techies in India too are facing a challenging time as layoffs continue. Over 10,000 techies have lost their jobs so far this year. So is there an end in sight for tech layoffs? Tariq Ahmed answers.
Struck by pandemic, the tech industry not just rose to the occasion but used it as an opportunity to flourish. Related stocks outperformed during 2020-21, but the economic slowdown, which followed the pandemic, has brought it to its knees. Companies, especially tech startups, are forced to cut costs to stay afloat. In India, 10,744 tech employees were laid off in the first 6 months of 2023. For the same period in 2022, reported job losses in the tech sector was 6,530. In 2020 alone, 12,932 tech employees had lost their jobs in India. In 2021, the job losses dipped to 4,080 as the funding for startup got improved. Funding winter for the startups have been a major reason for the layoff spree in the tech sector. According to the startup tracker firm Traction Data, compared to the year-ago period, startup funding has fallen by 72% in the first half of 2023. The increasing interest rates and global economic slowdown has been driving the funding winter for startups. For the same reasons, major IT companies like Meta, Google, Amazon, and Microsoft have also been laying off employees. So, is there an end in sight for abnormal levels of tech layoffs?
However, I mean, if you were just to see the ups and downs of market conditions, this correction was necessary because of the euphoria that came, in the last 2 years. Once this correction happens and, valuations correct, also we're looking at the US economy most likely going into a soft landing and not into a recession. Once all of this corrects, the economy that will be booming again will again be the tech industry. So it's going to be like the crests and troughs of the IT industry.
This year, out of 10,744 layoffs, most of the job losses happened in edtech companies. 3,610 people lost jobs in edtech companies. Food, retail, and healthcare-related tech jobs are other categories with most layoffs. Also, according to the recruitment firm Exfino Data, active hiring in the IT sector has gone down from 2 lakhs in last June to 79,000 in June 2023. But some roles related to cloud computing, AI engineering, cybersecurity analysts, and data analyst roles are on demand.
So the skills which are very, very much in demand are cloud computing, cybersecurity, IoT, blockchain technology, robotics process automations, the quantum computing, which is there, the edge computing, and the AI machine learning and the data science. So these are the skills which are say top 8 to 10 skills which are absolutely in demand. And like I mentioned earlier, the basic coding roles, the hardware maintenance, the legacy system maintenance, the manual QA testing, etc., and the simple data analysis. Those are the kind of skills and the roles which are very quickly getting automated, and we'll not see those kinds of roles coming in great quantities in the months and the quarters to come in.
Artificial intelligence and automation-led development will be creating more jobs in the near future. Infosys has announced that it is entering into a deal with a strategic client to provide artificial intelligence and automation-led development with an expected target of $2 billion for 5 years. Also, Tata Consultancy Services has a plan to create a talent pool of 100,000 generative AI associates. Though the hiring in the tech industry has gone down compared to the post-pandemic hiring spree, opportunities for new skill sets are emerging. There is increased demand for AI tech, cloud computing, and machine learning, but jobs that can be automated will be disappearing in the near future. Meanwhile, things are looking up for India's IT industry as the odds of a recession in the US and the emergence of AI as a new source of revenue may drive a rebound.
Prospects of IT firms appear bright going ahead. The NSE Nifty IT Index too has gained 18% from an April low. Moving on, India has dropped the requirements for RT-PCR-based testing of a random 2% subset of international travelers. COVID-19 related worries are almost over. This has also led to a rebound for the prospects of healthcare companies, which is getting reflected in their share prices. So how should investors position their strategy for this space? Harshita Singh answers.
Healthcare stocks have outperformed the bourses over the last few months. The Nifty Healthcare Index has surged nearly 20% since April this year, as compared to the 14% gain in the benchmark Nifty 50. Among the index's constituents, Glenmark Pharma, Aurobindo Pharma, Lupin, and Max Health have led the gains, zooming 39 to 55%. This turnaround comes after 2 years of significant underperformance. According to analysts, this is because of dissipating COVID-19 related demand and cooling margin pressures.
But what has now started happening is that the base now does not include any COVID-related revenues. So now when these companies report their financials in every quarter, the comparables of the last year will not have any COVID-related one-offs. And therefore, what we will get to see is the organic or the real growth in the business that these companies always try to deliver.
The recent upstick has been driven by hospitals, while the ongoing product approvals and lower price erosion in the US are lending strength to large pharma firms, as per DAM Capital. Analysts, however, prefer domestic pharma players, which could see better margin expansion over the large US-focused firms. Meanwhile, they suggest a selective approach for hospital shares.
In the domestic business, the domestic focused companies increase prices of their end products every year. They will also be increasing prices this year, whereas the raw material prices will be going down. So if you think about it from an investor standpoint, the end product price is going up, but the raw material price is coming down. So the margin expansion will happen to a greater extent in the domestic business. I know that there's a lot of talk about US businesses maybe turning more interesting because price erosion is decreasing. But the fact is that there is still price erosion, right? So if last year there was a 15% price deflation, this year there may be a 5-6% price deflation. It is still a price deflation. It is not price inflation. Majority of the hospital stocks are fairly inflated valuations. So I would still buy hospitals, but I would be very selective.
That apart, diagnostic stocks remain Aditya Khemka's top bets within the healthcare space, which can see a stellar run in the next 12 to 24 months given their cheap valuations after derating in the last 2 years and strong earning growth despite rising competitive intensity. Kotak Institutional Equities also believes that the worst of pricing-led competition in diagnostics is now over. Still, it remains cautious about Dr. Lal PathLabs and Metropolis due to their high pricing differentials with online platforms. Thus, investors should selectively add hospital and diagnostic shares while sticking to branded generic and domestic market pharma players. Today, on July 21st, markets will react to the first quarter earnings of Infosys and HUL. Reliance Industries, JSW Steel, Paytm, and Ultratech Cement will also be in the spotlight ahead of their results.
He's making plans for an early retirement. Business Standard.
The stock of PVR Inox, meanwhile, was trading close to all-time high on Thursday. The firm hopes that slashed popcorn prices and 2 Hollywood releases will bring the audience back to theatres. Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is one of them. The movie starring Cillian Murphy in the role of Julius Robert Oppenheimer is one of the most anticipated movies of this year. The film is based on the life of American physicist J Robert Oppenheimer, also known as the father of the atomic bomb. But who was this man? Radha Agarwal gives us a peek.
Christopher Nolan's magnum opus Oppenheimer, based on the life of American physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, released today. It has sold a whopping 90,000 tickets for the opening day in India. But who was Oppenheimer? Often called the father of atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer was born in New York on April 22, 1904. After completing high school, he enrolled at Harvard University, but the plans were postponed due to illness. He joined Harvard in September 1922 and graduated in 3 years. Although he majored in chemistry, Oppenheimer eventually realized his true passion was the study of physics. In 1925, Oppenheimer began his graduate work in physics at Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge, England. J.J. Thomson, who was awarded the 1906 Nobel Prize in Physics for detecting the electron, agreed to take on Oppenheimer as a student. Later, he went to Germany to study physics under Max Born. Oppenheimer received his doctorate in 1927 and accepted professorships at the University of California, Berkeley, and the California Institute of Technology, also known as Caltech. The rise of Adolf Hitler during the Second World War caught the world by storm. After Poland's invasion in 1939, several scientists including Albert Einstein, warned the USA of dangers that might befall the world if Germany was able to make the first nuclear bomb. While he was still at Berkeley, Oppenheimer in 1942 began to seek a process for separating uranium-235 from natural uranium and determining the critical mass of uranium required to make such a bomb. In August 1942, the US Army was given the responsibility of organizing the efforts of British and US physicists to seek a way to harness nuclear energy for military purposes, an effort that became known as the Manhattan Project. General Leslie R. Groves instructed Oppenheimer to lead the project and establish and administer a laboratory to carry out this assignment. Next year, in 1943, he chose New Mexico's Los Alamos to set up the lab. He was also made the director of the new lab. After 2 years of immense research and experimenting, the first nuclear explosion was undertaken during the Trinity test on July 16, 1945. 20 days later, on August 6 and 9, 1945, the USA used these weapons to bomb the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It eventually led to Japan's surrender. On October 16th of the same year, Oppenheimer resigned as director of Los Alamos Laboratory, accepting a post at Caltech. He was also made the chairman of the US Atomic Energy Commission. On December 21, 1953, a military security report accused him of having associated with communists, being a Soviet spy, and opposing the building of the hydrogen bomb. Next year, a security hearing declared him not guilty of treason, but ruled that he should not have access to military secrets. As a result, his contract as an advisor to the US Atomic Energy Commission was cancelled. His security clearance was also revoked. Oppenheimer died in 1967. 55 years later, in December 2022, the US Energy Secretary formally nullified the 1954 decision to revoke his security clearance. In a statement, the US Energy Secretary Jennifer M. Granholm said the 1954 decision of the Atomic Energy Commission to bar Oppenheimer's clearance resulted from bias and unfairness and a flawed process.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.
The movie Oppenheimer, meanwhile, is getting rave reviews by critics, and one of them went on to compare it with Taxi Driver. Well, you'll have to see it to arrive at any conclusion. That's all for today. Catch the next episode of The Morning Show tomorrow. Thank you for watching.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.